This video is sponsored by Hit Point Press and the Fable Makers Animated Tarot. There's a link down below. I'm making a response video to XP to Level 3. About 7 months ago, we uploaded a video called Saving Throws Are Dumb, and I had a few things to say about it. I want to challenge the idea that Jacob presented in this video. See, for the most part, Jacob was trying to state, okay, this is a dumb bit. I thought I could do it the whole video and I can't. This is stupid. I have a baby right now. I am recording this May 3rd, we're gonna watch my Saving Throws Are Dumb video, which in case you don't know is a video that I made about half a year ago where I talk about why I don't like saving throws, and it mostly just boils down to the fact that sometimes evasion is annoying because a character can backflip out of a fireball, and I go on to describe how monsters having the ability to telegraph or just removing saving throws altogether would be fun, or the really ingenious idea of giving players points that they can spend in order to not get hit by something would create an illusion of choice, which I think would be better than just rolling a dice. Yeah, it's a month later, Jacob. I forgot to provide context. Anyways, let's read some comments. Jacob now, saving throws are dumb. Jacob in a month, initiative is dumb. Jacob at the end of the year, dice are dumb. Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the trend, which is why I stopped making these videos. I feel like it'd be kind of cool and fun for some of the spells. If it was a spellcaster ability modifier versus the target's wisdom score, that's a saving throw right there. Just reflavored to be armor class. I gotta re-examine that. I don't know what I was trying to say. I know this was only like 7 months ago, but I definitely have different views and opinions on this now. I'm pretty sure I had just run a game and I was upset that somebody just like had evasion or something. This video should be called Jacob is Dumb. Okay, here we go. Howdy gamers, it's your angry D&D floor goblin here to tell you why I don't like saving throws. You know, the things you roll when you nearly fall off a cliff, or when a spell tries to muddle your mind, or when a ghost tries to possess you. Yeah, hold on to your charisma, because it's gonna get weird. It's funny because charisma is what you use to save against a ghost. I don't want to be divisive today. Okay, subversive Jacob is gone. I am now predictable Jacob. Being able to backflip out of a fireball is dumb, and I'm gonna explain why. I still think that, but we'll get to the end of the video. Okay, so I went to Twitter to ask you guys about what you thought about saving throws, and the main consensus I gathered was about 2 different opinions. One being, I like saving throws. I just wish the other abilities were used more often. That's because wisdom and dex are used a lot more than the other. At the time of making this video, I was a little fatigued of 5th edition. In our Tomb of Annihilation game, the party fought a red dragon at the bottom of a mine in Chult. Colton's character Ira, who is a bard rogue, had evasion, and when the dragon did their breath weapon, because I was just trying to challenge these like 8th or 9th level characters, his characters took no damage. And I was like, that's so lame and so boring, and I was upset by that. I think that's where my frustration was stemming from. And now that we have all of that context out of the way, let's continue. Like them. Why aren't they just ability checks? Please bring back Fortitude, Reflex, and Will. Yeah. And then Arsqueef said, if you like them, then you probably pee with your pants down at the urinal, and I would have to agree with him. I think saving throws in the context of a reactive ability is fine. Like when you touch a hot stove and you instinctively pull your hand back in reaction. It's like instincts. That's kind of what saving throws are. Yeah. Or when the doctor hits your knee with a hammer and your leg goes whoop, that's kind of like a dex save because it's like reflexes. The idea behind these abilities is fine. I think it makes perfect sense. But just because something makes sense in the game doesn't mean it has to exist. Okay. This is where like my argument gets convoluted. What I'm trying to say is that that comes off so dumb. Just because we think it should be in the game for it to seem realistic doesn't mean it has to be represented in the game. And I don't know why that's my argument, because there's a number of things that aren't represented in the game. And I think I then use that as my counterpoint to be like, well, we don't go to the bathroom, so that's not in the game, so that we don't need to have reflexes. And it's like, that's obviously not the point, but I don't know why I make that a point. We don't narrate when our characters go to the bathroom because it's simply assumed. And going to sleep for 8 hours
or 4 if you are of elven descent, closes open wounds.
Yeah.
We're already willing to suspend our disbelief for this game, so I don't agree with the argument that saving throws are a necessity. It can change like anything in D&D. I don't think that when D&D was being designed, they were like, hey, we should have a mechanic for reflexes.
No.
I think that it was more of, there should be a way that you can take less damage from a fireball, and the answer was saving throws.
I don't know why I decided for this to be my, opening statement. I should have just started with, isn't it dumb when the rogue has evasion and takes no damage from a fireball? Let's find ways to fix that. I shouldn't have been trying to argue that the concept of a saving throw is stupid.
I think you need a balance of, is this realistic or is this fun? Just because something is wholly realistic doesn't mean it needs to be in your game.
Yeah.
And the same goes for fun. And fun is completely relative to you, your friends, and your group, and whoever's playing in your game. So if you don't think that what I'm about to say is fun, then you can just feel free to call me a dummy dum-dum in the comments.
That is the most overused argument in D&D now, and I refuse to make it anymore. Obviously, you can do whatever you want in your games. That's just me trying to dodge criticism.
In my opinion, saving throws make for a really lame narrative and undermine player actions and agency as a whole. I
should have opened with that. The video could have started 3 minutes earlier. I didn't need to explain all of this.
D&D extremely fun when we get to make decisions that can change or affect the outcome of the game.
Yeah.
And the more dangerous and riskier those decisions, the better.
I still feel this way, but this is also in part, like what I said earlier, due to the fact that at the time I was having some 5e fatigue. 5th edition D&D is a very streamlined system meant to make RPGs much easier and more accessible for people to play. And so I think at the time what my issue with the system is that I wanted more. I wanted to challenge my players further. At higher levels, I wanted to make the game even harder than it was. And that's the thing about 5th edition. I still think that 5e base on its own has an issue with the higher level play. I think that it's way more in the player's favor. Players steamroll encounters. It's very difficult to write games above 15th level, and a lot of that is alleviated by breaking the rules, which is kind of why I made this video, was to kind of show how to actually make encounters above 10th level. Is when the DM sort of cracks and is like, oh, I can make this encounter whatever I want, and then actually start challenging the players. And that's exactly what you have to do. There are better ways to sort of challenge your players and break the rules and be outside the box rather than just trying to remove saving throw, which is a core mechanic of the game.
And the more dangerous and riskier those decisions, the better.
Yes, I like when players make decisions. I like my games to be challenging, but I don't want to TPK them.
I like difficult enemies in combat because they make everybody think about all of their abilities, their movement, and who they're going to help or hurt. I like high stakes. Any character can make a decision that will have rippling effects that will change the game. I like cursed magic items. I could have a +2 to AC, but at what cost? I just really like give and take. The player gets and the player takes, and thus the DM gives and takes. And it's a relationship where both are having fun. Because the DM is a player too, and the DM should also be having fun. Exactly. I am not a fan of wishy-washy games with invincible player characters and no sense of urgency.
That's me just saying, I don't know how to DM above 10th level. As of recently, WotC has done a really good job to fix this, to alleviate this, especially with Fizban's Treasury of Dragons and with Mythic Odysseys of Theros. I think the mythic actions are so cool. Making a monster mythic, and effectively it has 2 health bars, and it gets stronger the more you beat it, is one of the easiest and best ways to make high-level D&D really interesting and really fun.
But if you do, then you just have a darn time with that. But hey, if you want to play Stardew Valley D&D, then go for it. It's just not my cup of tea. What are you doing here?
So, you know there is urgency in Stardew Valley, right? Like,
there is?
Yeah. You have to farm your crops and have them ready by the end of the season. You gotta upgrade the community center for the people of the town. You know, and some people like to challenge themselves.
I asked her to be in the video and just asked her to come down and talk to me about things in Stardew Valley that have urgency, and she just did all that. Good job, you and your 700 hours in Stardew Valley. My wife is addicted to Stardew Valley. It's not even funny.
And do it in their first year. And like maybe even get married to your favorite villager.
But there's no like sense of danger in Stardew Valley.
There's the mines. Which you need to get into and fight off creatures to...
But the creatures aren't like that difficult.
Yes, they are.
Okay, but there's no negative for you dying, is there?
Yes, there is. You have to pay a fee to Harvey. Because if you die in the mines, you get pretty hurt. There's urgency everywhere.
The form of player sport, especially a competitive one, played according to the rules decided by skill, strength, or luck. I don't know what I was trying to prove then, but I just found the definition of game. Was I trying to say that saving throws make D&D less of a game?
Okay, maybe you just need urgency and risk to play a good game.
Yes. The point of that segment was to say saving throws make the game less of a game. I don't know about that one, Jacob.
Okay, going back to saving throws. Saving throws take away from player agency because when a dragon breathes its fire breath onto me, I don't get to make a conscious decision. I am just forced into whether I want to dodge or not.
Cool, we got to the point 6.5 minutes into the video. Jacob, that's a decision. The choice on whether to dodge or not is a choice. How do you guys stand me? I'm so sorry. God. What I'm effectively trying to say is that you don't get a choice in the matter of what happens when you get hit with a fireball. You just either take the damage or you try to not take the damage. And sometimes if you are a monk or rogue above the 7th level, you can take none damage from that attack. What if you wanted to surprise your players with something that's happening in the game? But you can't do that unless you give them a choice ahead of time. Like you can't just you can't secretly have a wizard secretly cast fireball on the players because they should be able to. They would just all take damage and die, and that would be really lame.
Which, irks me, because saving throws force you into this decision. And also, make no sense. If a dragon has been smart enough to corner a character and breathe fire onto them, they could just magically not take any of the damage.
Jacob, this is the same game where dragons exist. Choosing to play a rogue, maybe with the intention to get evasion, is a choice. I got to choose to take evasion so that when I get hit with a breath weapon, I take no damage. There's no difference in somebody choosing to play a Goliath character or a Tiefling character and have resistance to fire damage or resistance to cold damage, or a wizard taking counterspell so that when another wizard casts fireball on them, they choose to use a spell slot and a reaction to make that fireball go away. I like that I also started this video talking about having realistic things in the game is stupid. We need to suspend our disbelief a little more because saving throws are ruining our fantasy. And then right here I say, this is unrealistic. Man, I have to suspend my disbelief a little too much for this.
Whenever I roll a saving throw, I feel like a baby and my widow hand is being held through the game like, okay, Jacob, the intellect devourer is going to take your brain. And I'm like, oh no, can I have one chance for that not to happen, please? I chose to fight the intellect devourer. There should be consequences for me fighting an intellect devourer.
That makes, okay, no. So no. Players rarely ever get to choose what they fight in D&D. A lot of the times the DM is just like, oh, boom, intellect devourers, and they're all within 30 feet of you. All of you make intelligence saves. It's never players going, I wonder if that intellect devourer over there wants to fight. Maybe we should decide to go fight it. There's a lot of random stuff that can happen in the game that allows for your choice to be taken away from you. That's kind of a part of the game. The whole game isn't you making choices. The entire game is you reacting to what's happening within the space. And sometimes an intellect devourer gets the drop on you, and you would rather the player die. then just roll a save? It's not hand-holding. It's the last chance for you to not be dead. And I think that's enough. I think that's very fair. It's also exactly what 5th edition does. 5th edition is fun because it has a lot of instant gratification. You read an ability, you see the name, and you can do that thing. If you want to cast Fireball, you cast Fireball and boom, it happens. It's not like every time somebody casts a Fireball or a dragon does a breath weapon, every player is going to be immune to fire damage and monks and rogues above level 7. This is me just complaining about one tiny thing that happened in a game and making a whole video about it, and then now me, months later, realizing that this was a terrible take and oh god.
Forcing players into a choice is not a choice. It's a non-choice. It's a non-choice choice.
That doesn't make any sense. That's not what that is, but okay.
However, I still think that saving throws should still exist, but they should only be used sparingly. One main example is traps. Traps are the only time that I feel like a dex save is extremely appropriate. But I think that the DCs should be really high.
Well, what are you talking about? Why a trap? We chose to go into that dungeon. You chose to walk onto that floor. Your character should face the consequences for walking onto that floor. This argument is so dumb. I'm glad everybody called me out on this. It made me better today. I was upset, but now I understand why, and you all were right.
Like you step on a pressure plate and a spear flies at you, and if you roll an 18, you dodge it. But when
why is that any different than a spell? There is only one thing about that I still don't like. When you make dex saves, you should have at least the choice to move outside of the spell's area. I don't like the visual imagery of like a fireball going off and your character just doing like a twirl and then they don't take any damage. I just don't understand that personally. I'm also only using the fireball example. There are other spells that have saving throws. There are spells like Ray of Sickness and Shatter and Thunder Wave and Lightning Bolt. There are even spells like Mind Spike, which doesn't have a visual, so it doesn't, you just resist that. This is purely dex saves. I'm only arguing dex saves. If the one text in evasion said, and you can move outside the spell's area or the area of effects area. Done. There, I'm happy now. That's all I wanted. I didn't care about anything else.
It comes to everything else, and I'll use spells as my example. Saving throws should really only be used for trap-like spells. I think Fireball should like telegraph instead of just a dex save. The wizard picks an area, and then at the start of his next turn, that's when the fireball explodes. And everybody in that area has to either move or try to save somebody else or try to find cover or stay in the fireball and take the damage, because maybe...
Yes, on paper, that's interesting. And I did do that in my system, and it's fun. It just doesn't work for D&D, because if you do that with fire, like that doesn't work with any, that works for Fireball, but that doesn't work for Ray of Sickness. You know, that works for AoE spells. And I'm not talking about AoE spells, I'm talking about saving throws. And I don't really care about wisdom saves. I really only care about evasion and dex saves. So it's a stupid argument.
Maybe it's an advantageous position to be in. That is just infinitely more interesting than... oh good, I didn't take that fireball damage. I love...
That's the rogue and the monk. Like, that's it. Use a white dragon. That is a constitution saving throw. No matter what, no matter who you are, you will take damage if a white dragon does its breath weapon.
The same goes for mind-affecting spells. Illusion is already so underutilized and underrated because of saving throws.
No.
Like, I create the epitome of your fear in your mind, and you're just like, no. I think what would...
That's being so facetious about that. It's that you overcome the fear. There's a way that you can describe that. If that kind of spell hits you and you see your fear in your mind, there are some characters who are wise enough to realize this is fake and this isn't real. I'm not going to believe this, and therefore it doesn't affect me. Or I'm going to overcome this because whatever I'm doing against this person, fighting them and resisting the save, is more important at the current moment. Very few illusions use saving throws. Some of them do, but you have to like interact with them.
I think what would be cool and kind of fun is for some spells, if it was more the spellcaster's ability modifier versus the target's wisdom score. So
that's an attack roll. That's armor class. that is pretty much just a saving throw.
So it'd be kind of like a Jedi mind trick, where more clever characters are always going to succeed, while not as wise characters will always fail, depending on the power level of the caster.
That's a saving throw. That's a saving. Why am I? This is at me. I feel like I'm criticizing someone else. This was your fault, idiot. This was you.
That can also create some really annoying scenarios where just suggestion always works on a certain character, and
Yeah.
that can be kind of dumb. But that's why I think ability score improvements and feats are so important, because eventually...
Oh, ability score improvements are helpful, guys. Did you know that?
your character could learn to overcome them. But I also think it would be such a fun weakness to have as a character, instead of just, sometimes I fail more often than everybody else. Like, there are some seriously cool spells in the book that do amazing things, but they're never ever used, because how many freaking times have you casted a spell and the saving throw succeeded, and it's just like, well, this is useless.
I do agree with that. I don't like that there are some spells in the game where if you succeed, it just does nothing. That's super lame, and it looks like they're sort of moving away from that a little bit. There are a lot of new spells in the books that don't do that. I still agree with this. I just don't agree with the argument that it's being attributed to.
I really like how Blades in the Dark utilizes a stress mechanic to where you can use stress to create flashbacks and succeed scenarios.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really fun for D&D if you had a stat with like a point system, maybe it was like wisdom, and you could subtract these points in order to succeed against certain spells, but eventually you would grow weaker as the game went on. And
I don't hate that, actually. But that is just legendary resistance with the extra steps. I think that just makes the problem worse, because if Jacob at this current time is like, it's annoying when a dragon breathes fire on a rogue and they just automatically succeed it. Now they're going to automatically succeed it whenever they want, instead of it being a chance, instead of it being a risk, instead of it being maybe like a consequence, maybe something that requires a little bit of urgency, which is what a saving throw is. Rolling a dice innately and adding your skill modifier to it is a choice and a consequence that you have built your character to do. I probably would have complained about the fact that spells are too powerful against DMs and there should be a rule where they can automatically succeed. But they just did that. That's legendary resistance. That's a good mechanic, and it should stay on the monster side of the field.
And maybe if you wanted to save them on smaller spells, then you could, but those smaller spells would get off more often. So a bad guy casts suggestion on a character, and they're just like, I don't want to waste my points for this, so I'll just do the suggestion.
Or the bad guy only gets 2 turns in that game, and the one suggestion they get on that player is always going to succeed, and then the bad guy dies or leaves or runs out of spell slots and never got to cast that suggestion because the players all have the ability to automatically succeed it on the first run. That sucks. That is horrible. Don't do that. That is bad.
Like, that's... You get to make a choice. That's so much more interesting and fun.
Yes, in theory, you get to make a choice. But Jacob, you know so well that your players will not make that choice. And they will just use them just to make you angry. And it will make you more mad. And you know deep down that this is wrong. I'm talking to myself. I know that's wrong now. That's what I'm trying to say.
You could even have feats or abilities that increase these wisdom points, or have spells that can deplete them easier. I don't know, I just think that would be so much more fun than just rolling saves, and you never know if a spell's gonna work or not. And as a DM, it's really frustrating too when you want to challenge your players with like a really powerful wizard or lich, but their saving throws are just constantly succeeding, so they just go, we have such good luck today, and it's like, oh good, you won because of luck, not because of any choices that you decided to make. I don't know, I just think it'd be more rewarding. Choices are fun!
I don't know why I'm saying that. I've never run a combat where the players were just rolling good saving throws, and that's why they won. Anyways.
I like choices. I don't know. Okay, this is the end.
There's already choices in the game, Jake. We just need to not play 5th edition.
the video. I'm done.
Or learn how to run higher level D&D better. Okay, I'm not trying to, I don't want to sound like I'm being so selfish or like I'm just trying to go back on what I said in order to avoid criticism. It is not at all what it is. I just realized that everything I said in this video is very dumb, and I wanted to amend some of that. I wanted to go back on what I had said because at the time that I made this video, it was in the middle of Questonomicon. I was stressed out. I was just like, this is a video idea and this is what I made. I should have thought about this a little more. I really appreciate everybody in the comments calling me out for this because that was dumb. That was a really bad argument that I made, and I'm glad none of y'all fell for it, and I hope none of y'all fell for it. I know I have a little bit of an influence here on D&D world, and I have a lot of old videos of me just yelling at people saying, this is what will make your game better, and just whatever's fun for your game is what you should do. I'm just an idiot on the internet. You don't need to listen to me. Just laugh at me being stupid, and then go, haha, how relatable, and then go about your day. Oh, my camera ran out of memory. My own equipment is taking the mic away from me. So, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Oh yeah, this video is sponsored by Hit Point Press and the Fable Makers Animated Tarot, which is now available for pre-order. The Fable Makers Animated Tarot deck combines tarot and TTRPGs. Not only do they have these beautifully animated tarot cards, but the Fable Makers Tarot Guidebook shows you how to use tarot spreads within your campaign, enhance existing 5e classes with tarot cards, use the major arcana cards as NPCs, and much more. The book also includes a fully developed tarot-themed NPC, Nova, for use in your campaigns. You can pre-order the Tarot Guidebook deck or box set today, and you'll get a free PDF of the Fable Makers Tarot deck and guidebook with your order. You can check it out with the link down below.